All right, everybody. We are at the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery Recap. And boy, didn't that suck. I don't know about
Yeah.
you guys, but I was doing a live shot here at Fox 13, and I heard a gasp from far away when the Jazz landed number 5. And boy, talk about a heartbreak for this team. I guess I'll ask each one of you guys, maybe start with David, Morgan, and Andrea, about kind of what your reaction was and what it was like where you were watching.
I mean, obviously disappointment, but it was a numbers game, right? It was a coin flip. We knew it was 50-50, and it just so happens that we hit tails instead of heads. And yeah, obviously took some time to digest that and absorb it a little bit. And now we can move on.
Tails never fails, though, so maybe they went on heads. I don't know. I heard one of our digital guys just freaking out. No, this can't be real. And the fact that they go 14-5 and 5 is so anticlimactic, whereas
Oh,
1 through 4 just
Yeah, I told Digital, let's just make it to the break. If we could just make it to the break. But no, it didn't work out that way.
yeah, I'm here at the break and I'm at the break in downtown Salt Lake City, and there's fans in here watching, people in Jazz t-shirts, and the entire place audibly gave the biggest gasp and just froze. Because I think was so much optimism, especially with Utah Mammoth had good luck. People were thinking that maybe Smith Entertainment Group would see some extra luck, and to see Ashley Smith's face blank, it's tough. There was a bright future, and now you just gotta hope that something amazing comes out of this.
Yeah, when you started to see teams that were low in the NBA Draft Lottery pecking order start moving up, first it was Dallas, San Antonio, and then Philadelphia, meaning only one of the teams with a 14% chance was going to be in the Final Four. You saw Washington pop up, and then, of course, the Jazz. And boy, it sure wasn't a good thing to tank this year, because the 3 teams with the highest percentage finished 4, 5, and 6. And the Dallas Mavericks, with a 1.8% chance of winning the lottery, ended up doing just that. They're a play-in team and all that. Made a big trade, sent off Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, and their fan base was upset about that. We'll see how this all works out. So we're all disappointed. Justin Zanuck, general manager for the Utah Jazz, he spoke with the media shortly after to kind of give his reaction to the Jazz ending up with the 5th pick in the draft.
It's my second time being in the back room watching the lottery unfold. It happens really quick. It actually happens in the reverse of how it's announced on TV, and so it was over pretty quickly. And this was always the most likely individual outcome that we expected and kind of prepared for, given that the flattened lottery odds since 2019. So we were prepared that this is a very real possibility. And, we're excited to add a good young player to our team. We've got, the work we've been doing for the last 2 years on this particular draft. We get to kind of put plans in motion now and have a bunch of guys get into our gym and create a competitive environment to really evaluate these guys. This week at the Combine is going to be really, really productive for our staff, especially our scouting staff, to see these guys up close. We have Coach Hardy here and Danny and myself, along with our staff. So we have a bunch of interviews to do, get to see these guys and start talking to them in person and really start drilling down on the possibilities. In reality, this is another young player, an asset that we can add to our team. And this is one of the main reasons that we have decided to stay flexible and have a bunch of assets here to be able to move up, move down, and really put together pieces and find the right combination of players to take this organization forward. And the number 5 pick is certainly a part of that.
Yeah, I guess that's all you can do. I guess reactions from what you heard from Justin Zanuck there.
biggest reaction, I guess, is that they were planning for number 5. They were ready for the worst case scenario. So you hope, and at number 5, obviously you want Cooper Flag at number one, but there's an opportunity to kind of see all the players in this draft and see who might be the best fit for the Utah Jazz and who they want to proceed with going forward. I don't know. What about you, Morgan, Andrea?
Well, I mean, I think there's good players there that they can get excited about. I mean, these two kids from Rutgers. Rutgers was what, like 15 and 17 this season, but these two freshmen averaged like 39 points a game. And I know one of them's got a pretty nice pedigree. This Harper kid, Dylan Harper. He may not fall to 5. You might be able to trade up to get him. But there's somebody like a VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. They like guards out of Baylor, right? Keontae George, and who was it before that? He's an option, sharpshooter from 3, and good player.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's probably going to go number 2. Andrew, what are your reactions to Jay-Z?
I know. I was like, we won't see him by 5, but I was very excited about the front court with Cooper Flag, so I'm still trying to process that. But I want to also think about the later picks that the Utah Jazz have been able to develop, and we've seen really bright spots from Kyle Filipowski, and he was acquired, or picked in the second round. And so it doesn't mean, and Isaiah Collier and Keontae George, those are higher picks that showed great strides, but I just also want to be optimistic in the fact that Donovan Mitchell wasn't, top 5. And so it's just things I want to just hope that there's a bright side going to come out of this.
Let's talk about that. You mentioned those players. They had 3 picks last year. They're all 20 and 21 years old. Kyle Filipowski was the second round, but the second pick of the second round. So essentially 3 first-rounders. The year before that, they had 3 first-rounders, Taylor Hendricks, Keontae George, Bryce Sensabaugh. They're all 21. So there you have 6 players that are 21 and under. The Utah Jazz have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks this year. Do they want to add 4 more players underneath the age of 21 years old? I mean, what do they do from here? I mean, obviously they might make some moves to trade up. I mean, the big question I heard a question. Ryan Smith was on a podcast this afternoon, and they asked him if they were willing to trade the number 1 if they got it. They obviously didn't, but maybe they're willing to trade up because he says, I got a guy named Danny Ainge who is known to do things like this. So who knows? Maybe they got 10 or 11 first-round picks over the next 7 years. That's a lot of picks. They got the assets to make a move if they think Flag or Dylan Harper or somebody else is worth it. So, and there's also the name Giannis Antetokounmpo said he is up for a trade. Nobody out in the national media has mentioned the Jazz as a possible landing spot for him, but who knows? I guess this is why you hire the guys to make the decisions.
Jeff, if you were Danny Ainge, what would you do?
Man, I mean, I think you got to make some moves to either bring in a veteran or package whatever this is why you got all these assets to make a big move. He said last year, big game hunting, that never came to fruition for the Utah Jazz. I think you got to keep swinging. You got to keep swinging for the fences because who knows how long this fan base is going to last. They filled the seats this year, but who knows how long that's going to last. I mean, you can only eat at the Toyota Club so many times and watch your teams lose. I mean, ice cream's good, but it's not that good.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm just thinking about how I could feel the disappointment in the fans this season. The energy wasn't the same in that place. And I've been lucky enough to be a part of a short playoff run early on in my time here in Salt Lake City with the Donovan Mitchells and Rudy Gobert's. So we're going into the 4th season since the Jazz have traded them away. And you would hope that rebuild would start to see some move by the 4th season. So do you trade those assets up that Zanuck and Ainge keep talking that they have? And this is why we have those things. Do we see that, or do we take the 5 and hope that this can just be a special player for this organization?
Morgan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I went to a lot of games last year, and there were times where it felt like a G League game, but people were still there rooting it on, and that says a lot about the fan base. But yeah, they need a spark. They need a flash, and Flag was going to be that guy. And again, we only had a 15% shot at him, so it's not like a huge disappointment. But Danny's good at this. He did it in Boston, and that's why they brought him here. And it's taken a little while, but you could land a marquee piece at 21, which is their second pick in the first round, and that may be the guy that ends up being the franchise piece. You just never know. So, that's why they're paid as well as they are to figure that out. And I'm sure
As
they're
long
going to
as
be
the
starting holding workouts soon.
Yeah, along with those 6 players that we mentioned, the young guys who were drafted in the last 2 years. I mean, the main core of this team's pretty young. You got Walker Kessler, 23, Colin Sexton, 26. Larry Markin and John Collins are both 27, and Larry Markin is in the prime of his career. I would much rather have the Jazz with this, whatever they pick at 5. Let these young guys play and let the veterans play, for heaven's sakes. Put them on the court and see what they are. Maybe they're better than we think they are. I think they're certainly better than a 17-win team from last season. They just didn't play because they kept them out hoping this tank would work to get the number 1 pick or number 2 pick or number 3 pick, but certainly not number 5. I would just like to see these guys get on the court and play together, and who knows? I mean, they're not going to win games when they're putting in the guys who don't have any experience in the fourth quarter. They're not going to win those games, and that clearly didn't work. I'd love to ask Justin Zanuck, what did you learn from that experience, and would you ever do it again?
Yeah, that was probably the most disappointing part is how fast it went from 14 to 5, and just to think that we were going to have this adrenaline buildup, and then just to feel it come crashing down. I just hope that this. I don't know. I'm really trying to be optimistic here, and you take a look at a 17-win season, the worst in franchise history, the worst in the NBA. You almost feel like you deserve a 1, 2, 3, or 4, but a 5 just hurts extra.
Jeff, I think you brought up a really good point that, because the guys really didn't play that much together, it's really hard to evaluate kind of what you have as well. When guys are in and out of the lineup, especially somebody like Walker Kessler, who every team I think in the NBA would love to have on their squad. So how does he look with Isaiah Collier when they get to play regularly together, especially in crunch time when, you do want to start winning games? How are they going to perform in the fourth quarter, as well as Lowry's a good example. He certainly wasn't a top 5 pick when he originally came out of Arizona and was taken by the Bulls, I want to say. So you never know what can happen at 5. Morgan mentioned it as well. Danny Ainge, the 2 big guys in Boston, were number 3 overall. So 5, everybody's a prospect. There's a reason, that they do all this homework and try to figure out who they really want to take.
Yeah, the guys who were drafted a couple years ago, Taylor Hendricks was number 9, obviously broke his leg. I'm excited to see what he can do healthy back. Seemed like he was making strides, and he only played a few games before that devastating injury. But this has got to be a make or break kind of season for a guy like Keontae George. That first season was gangbusters, and everybody thought, okay, this could be the guy. This is a big season for him. I don't know what you guys think. He's got to be better defensively. He's got to be more efficient with his shot. He's got to do those certain things. Otherwise, you got to turn the page, or at least put him at the end of the bench. And Bryce Sensabaugh, what do you guys feel about that group, those 3 together, and maybe what this upcoming season means for them and this team?
I was super excited to see Bryce Sensabaugh's growth this last season. I think his shooting confidence has just excelled and allowed him to show up at a time when the Jazz needed a little bit of a spark. You look at Isaiah Collier as well, and kind of what he was able to do with breaking the all-time assist record with the Utah Jazz. But I also want to remember that this was a team that needed something to look at and be positive about. I need the same thing from Keontae George. I just want him to be more consistent and also more confident. Almost him and Bryce Sensabaugh need to get together and talk it out when it comes to showing up for this organization and for this team. But I was just genuinely looking forward to having a taller, bigger team. So a lot of adjustments will have to be made going forward. But like I said, you got Cody Williams. I didn't say this part yet, but Cody Williams needs to develop the most. Tough rookie season for him. And then you can be confident in Kyle Filipowski and the rest of those guys. But man, I don't know. I'm just so sad.
Morgan,
I'm
what do you
probably
think?
most high on Collier out of those 6 guys that have been drafted over the last 2 years. I mean, we saw flashes from him at the end. It came late, but he got me excited. He got me pumped up. Hey, can we do a commercial break really quick? Just want to show you this food over at the break. This stuff's pretty good. Right across the street from the construction at the Delta Center. You got to come over here and check this out. Don't want to make anybody jealous.
Great buffalo chicken wrap at the break, for sure.
That's
This
what
is a
I
fat
got.
burger right here.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, I would say just let's just wrap this up. I guess final thoughts. I'll say this. You know, I'm watching a playoff game right now, and I was hoping the Jazz would be closer than they are now after this NBA draft lottery to being in the playoffs once again. But who knows what'll happen? I just want them to start playing these players and forget the tanking and let's try another way, because this way is devastating if it doesn't work out for you. That's for sure. This will be the 6th player the Jazz will draft in the top 5. You got Daryl Griffith back in the day at number 2. That was pretty good. Dominic Wilkins, they sold for money. They needed to keep the franchise alive. Ennis Cantor, Darren Williams, he turned out pretty good. And then Dante Exum. So this will be the 6th player in Jazz history to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. Let's hope he turns out to be a good one.
Fingers and toes crossed because my heart has been ripped out. That is all.
All right, everybody, enjoy that burger. Holy moly. David and I are over here looking at each other like, what the?
Where's our food? Where's our food?
Oh, my gosh. All right.
Tusks up.
There you go. All right, see you guys.